Good morning, Dr. D.D. Swine here. Now there is a debate which is going on. What is the expectation of CXO from the CHRO? When we talked about CXO is basically Chief Experience Officer. This C-suite executive is responsible for the overall experience of an organization's product, services, and brand, aiming to ensure positive interactions for customers and employees. The purpose of CXO, Chief Experience Officer. His purpose is to drive revenue and growth by creating a customer-centric culture and improving customer satisfaction. So his basic purpose is to drive the revenue and growth by creating a customer-centric culture, customer first. And when I say customer, it doesn't always mean the outside customer. It also means your inside customer, which is employees. And if you want to know more about employees' importance as customers, you can read a beautiful article by Professor Francis Frey from Harvard Business Review. My employees are my service guarantee. So the purpose of CXO is to drive revenue and growth by creating a customer-centric culture and improving customer satisfaction. Focus areas for the CXO. They manage the entire customer journey, including customer service, user experience, and brand touchpoints. Because at whatever touchpoints the customer is accessing you, they should have a great experience about your product, about your service, and about the brand overall. Now, sometimes CXO is also confused with some of the alternate meanings. Sometimes CXO is used as a generic umbrella term for any C-level executive, like Chief Executive Officer, CEO, Chief Financial Officer, CFO, CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, CIO, Chief Information Officer, and CTO, Chief Technology Officer. Let's talk about the Chief Experience Officer's role. His role is to balance technology and people, because you know, to be successful in the business world, you need a beautiful collaboration between people, process, and technology. If you have gone through a beautiful book, CRM at the Speed of Light by Paul Greenberg, you might have seen the cogwheel approach, where he talks about an organization to be successful needs to have a perfect alignment between people, process, and technology. So the CXO's first role is to have a balance between technology and people. Second, profitability and ethics. And third, which is very, very important, innovation and sustainability. Now, the modern context expects a lot of dedication and application from CHROs. Now, what are the key competencies expected from modern CHROs? The first one is business acumen. Now, what does it mean? It means the CHRO should not only bother about human resources, recruitment, training, selection, retention, but they should also understand the markets, the finance, and the growth. They have to have information and idea about profit and loss account and balance sheet. They should know how to read financial statements. They should have idea about operations. They should have idea about sales and marketing, which is very, very important, because their importance in the business growth is very much, because marketing brings revenue for the organization. So the first key competences expected from modern CHROs is to have proper business acumen. They should not only restrict themselves to the human resources activity, but they should also go into other factors of organizations like man, money, machine, material, and time. So they need to understand the market, finance, and growth. Second, expectations out of modern CHROs at the workplace is to have digital fluency. The CHROs need to have a detailed and very efficient understanding about artificial intelligence, analytics, and technologies used in human resources. Because the way the demographic of employees are changing, the way demographic of customers are changing, the way online and offline and hybrid and omni-channel platforms are coming into your revenue growth models, the way customer is responding. One of those days when customer used to go through the consumer decision-making channel in a traditional stimulus response model, but now customers are going through hybrid formats. They are interacting with companies in different platforms. So it's very, very important to understand your employees and your customers, their adaptation to technology. It's very, very important to have a beautiful understanding of technology. So the CHROs need to have excellent digital fluency. That is the knowledge about artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, analytics, and HR technologies. Because these are the things which will give you not only fast results, but also accurate results by providing data and taking decision out of data, which is more reliable for the CHRO. Third important expectation out of modern CHROs is about strategic thinking. They cannot anymore only restrict themselves into human resource management. They have to go for strategic thinking. They have to have long-term workforce planning. Because as we discussed in the previous point, the demographics of your internal customer, your external customers are changing, the technology adoption is changing, the multiple platforms in which the customers are exposing themselves, then interacting with the company's product, services, and overall the brand is creating experience 24 into 7 and 365 days. So the CHRO has to have strategic thinking. They should have a broad understanding of revenue model and revenue growth models of the organization. If they will restrict themselves only to human resources planning and management, they will be missing a lot of things like succession planning, talent management. They need data, because gone are those days when you used to have manual performance appraisals, like that is companies like Adobe. They don't go for manual appraisals or one-time appraisals. They go for continuous appraisal system. TCS also goes for customer well-being through continuous approach towards strategic thinking. So it's very important. The third parameter is the CHROs need to have a beautiful strategic thinking. In other words, to have a long-term workforce planning. The fourth expectations out of modern CHROs is leadership development. They need to have succession planning and talent pipeline management, because most organizations suffer because of this lack of planning. If I'll give you a data, 70% might be the cost of employees to the organizations. So it's very important that the CHROs need to focus on leadership development. They need to have a calculative, a systematic plan regarding leadership development, leadership finding, providing support to them, managing leadership risk, need to have succession planning, and have to have tremendous talent pipeline, because that funnel and that pipeline will decide how successful you will become in approaching future challenges for the organization. Fifth major expectation out of modern CHROs is how they will be going to manage the change that is leading transformation, because the world is changing at a very, very fast pace. Like all the apps, if you look at them, they are updating themselves in 20 minutes, 15 minutes. So see the speed at which business is happening and things are changing in the business world. So the CHROs have to have excellent understanding and skill about managing change that is leading transformation. No longer they are called as chief human resource officers. Now they are chief transformation officers inside the organizations. And the sixth one is very interesting. What is the sixth expectation out of modern CHROs? They need to have excellent communication skill, because they need to influence board and employees. Because nowadays it's very important for the CHROs going out of their cocoon of only managing human resource inside the organizations to strategic thinking and to see the stakeholders' interest. That's what the job of CXO, isn't it? Chief Experience Officer. What is his job? His job is to create a great culture and great experience for the stakeholders. I should not restrict my discussion into only customers. We will take customers, both internal and external. Internal customers are very important, that is employees. The second one is external customers, that is your customers. But stakeholders are also very important. So modern CHROs need to have excellent communication skill, which will help them in influencing board and employees in taking strategic decisions for future. Seventh one is really the icebreaker. All the modern CHROs need to have excellent data-driven decision-making skills. And that is possible through workforce analytics. So they need to embrace technology in a big way to have plenty of data, and out of that they have to drive the data to decision making. So they need to have beautiful data warehousing skills and data mining skills. They have to have the HR analytics software in place, and they need to know how to analyze the data and how to interpret the data and how to use the interpretation for the benefit of the employees. So it's very, very important skill, data driven decision making. This is very, very important, and especially the CHROs, which is above a particular age, 50, 55, they need to have continuous learning and relearning, so that they need to know how to handle data, how to analyze the data, how to interpret the data, and how to take the interpretation onto the execution level, so that the company will be going to have a wonderful bottom line and revenue model. Eighth point is a deal breaker. The modern CHRO need to have excellent understanding of ESG and ethics, and why it is necessary, because it's very important for sustainable people practices inside and outside the organization. Gentlemen, let me conclude this small discussion. Now, CXO's expectation out of CHRO. Now, what are the expectations? The role of CXO, the Chief Experience Officer, is to create a great experience for the stakeholders on a larger perspective, and customers, both internal and external customers in particular. Now, what is the expectation of CXO out of CHRO? The CHRO should understand people, process, and technology. They should know how to take data warehousing, how to data mine it, and how to take interpretation out of that and execute it at the ground level. Now, number 3 is very important. They should have the proper leadership skill, where they can do succession planning and leadership pipeline management. The 4th important point in nutshell, I'm just summing 8 points into 4 points. The 4th point is very, very important. They need to have ethical understanding about managing people and resources. If you ask me, the most important expectation of CXOs, the Chief Experience Officer out of CHRO, is to have a larger perspective and understanding about company's revenue model and bottom line for the CHRO, going out of traditional way of handling only people and stop there, because the buck doesn't stop there. It goes beyond that. So the CHRO need to have marketing skills, HR skills. They need to understand the processes. They need to understand the customers, both internal and external. They need to understand the financial skills, that is profit loss account, balance sheet, the way financial statements are written, how to read that, and the operational things, and as well IT as well. It's very, very important. So people, process, technology skill is very, very important for CHROs. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Dr. D.D. Swai saying thank you.